So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah! Over the last couple of weeks, we have talked a ton about the newest Detroit Lions rookies, starting off with first-round pick Terrion Arnold from the University of Alabama and ending it off with the last pick in the 6th round of Christian Mahogany. Then we went to the undrafted rookie free agents, guys like Isaiah Williams, Isaac Rex, Steele Chambers, and all the other notable UDFAs in this class. And today, we're going to end it off with the last player the Lions have signed. We're going to end it off with the only other player outside of the first two that have signed a signing bonus for the Detroit Lions to come in and try out for the team. That player is UCLA Bruins former center Duke Clemens, a player that the Detroit Lions signed out of undrafted free agency, signed to an actual contract with a signing bonus before going out and signing the center from Florida. Now, Duke Clemens stands at 6'3", 302 pounds for the Bruins a season ago with an 8.85 RAS score. There is a lot of athleticism to like in Duke Clemens' game. He put up 26 reps on the bench, a 5.1 second 40-yard dash, and a 1.77 split for his 10-yard run. His size graded out to be good by the RAS score, about his size being in the 58th percentile. His bench press was a little bit above average, as was his explosiveness. A 29-inch vert and an 8'10" broad jump for somebody that is 302 pounds is pretty impressive and well above average for the center position. His agility grade was also good, with a 4.7 shuttle time being just above average and his 3-cone drill being pretty good for the center position. But his speed is where he really starts to run away as an athlete, as his 5.1 RAS or his 5.1 40-yard dash ranks in the 85th percentile, while his 20-yard split ranks in the 91st percentile as he ran a 2.9 20-yard split. So Duke Clemens is a really good all-around athlete with some top-tier speed for the center position at UCLA. Now, although I couldn't find exact statistics for Duke Clemens as far as pressures and snaps played and everything like that, and all the stats that I try to find for offensive linemen, there are some really, really good things to like about Duke Clemens. He has good size, good explosiveness, good agility, as we just talked about, and great speed for the center position, and all around is just a phenomenal athlete for the UCLA Bruins. Now, Duke Clemens, what I could find is from PFF, they gave him a 79.4 pass blocking grade in the NCAA a season ago and a 78.7 run blocking grade, which actually graded out to be the 3rd best run blocking grade in all of college football a season ago. So you have a great run blocker, a phenomenal athlete, and a guy that can get to the second level. That to me sounds like somebody the Detroit Lions would very much be interested in trying to develop and very much be interested in trying to integrate into their offensive line. Now, the only other stat I could find was his sack numbers, being 1 sack allowed in the last 347 snaps. Now, I don't know how many of those were pass blocking snaps as opposed to run blocking snaps. It wasn't specified whether they were all pass blocking snaps or a mixture of both run and pass. But 1 sack allowed on the season is really the number you would want to look for, meaning he doesn't give up a lot of pressures more likely than not. He doesn't give up a lot of sacks, and he keeps the quarterback pretty clean in the pocket when he is the offensive lineman for them. Now, the Detroit Lions signed Duke Clemens to a $60,000 signing bonus, which isn't nearly as big as Isaiah Williams and isn't nearly as big as the center from Florida, but does still show that they do like Duke Clemens a lot as a prospect. And I do think that the offensive line now has a ton of competition on the interior. And with all of the players that they have on the interior of the offensive line, I actually think the interior is pretty set for a long time. I think they have 2 great prospects for the center position. I think they have 4 or 5 strong for both of the guard positions. And for an offensive line that is aging and an offensive line that is obviously getting a little bit older, getting a little bit weaker, and probably 2 to 3 years down the road going to look very, very different, I think Brad Holmes did a great job finding a number of players that can fill in different roles and a number of competitors for the positions in the future, right? Taking a look at the center position right now, obviously you have Frank Ragnow, an all-pro caliber center in the NFL. Behind him, Graham Glasgow is a Pro Bowl caliber offensive lineman who can play both guard and center for the Detroit Lions. And then on the other side, you have Kevin Zeitler, who is older, but still playing at the very top of his game at a Pro Bowl caliber level for the Baltimore Ravens a season ago. But then you look at the depth, you look at the future, right? Because those are 3 guys that 2 to 3 years down the road will probably be retired from the game of football. But then you go a little bit deeper. You have Kingsley Eguakon, the center from Florida, who signed a $250,000 signing bonus, who was one of the better centers in college football over the last 3 years. The other center prospect is this guy, Duke Clemens from UCLA, that is a great football player in his own right. And I think those 2 can go back and forth and probably be starting caliber centers 2 to 3 years down the line if Hank Fairley gets a great opportunity to really develop them. You look at the interior of the offensive line from the other positions. Colby Sorsdale was a 5th-round selection and a rookie a season ago, didn't get a lot of starts, but when he did start on the interior, especially against the Las Vegas Raiders, he was phenomenal. He didn't give up a sack, barely gave up any pressures versus Max Crosby, opened up a ton of rushing lanes, and was a great prospect from William and Mary last year. You have Coyote Owaska, an undrafted free agent, I believe from 2 or 3 seasons ago, that started for you in the NFC Championship game against the San Francisco 49ers and was really good. You have Christian Mahogany now. You have Giovanni Manu at the backup guard position now. You have a couple of other undrafted free agents in there as well. So I think that Brad Holmes, especially with the signing of Duke Clemens, has really shored up the future of this offensive line. Now, with that being said, obviously, when guys like Glasgow and Ragnow and Zeitler retire or leave the team, there's a good chance that the Lions go out and they draft somebody, right? There's a good chance they go out and get a 1st, 2nd round guard, a 1st, 2nd round tackle, a 1st, 2nd round center. But I think the depth of this offensive line is almost as impressive as the actual starting 5 themselves, because I think you could probably name 3 or 4 players on the Detroit Lions offensive line that could come in, play at a high level, and not see the quality of protection or run blocking drop too drastically or significantly. I think if you had to have Graham Glasgow come in at center and put in Giovanni Manu or even a guy like Christian Mahogany at that other guard position, you're still running the ball really effectively. If you have to have like Kingsley Eguakon come in and play center for you 2 or 3 years down the road, I think there's a guy you can develop. And I think the same thing goes for Duke Clemens. Just the offensive line depth that Brad Holmes was able to build in this draft is something that I don't think a lot of people saw coming, but it is something that Brad Holmes was able to accomplish without giving up too many big draft assets, without giving up too much in the 1st or 2nd rounds. He was able to go get 4 legit prospects that 2 or 3 years down the line could start for the Detroit Lions. And Duke Clemens is very certainly one of them. He's a great pass blocker. He's a good run blocker. He's tenacious. He's got size. He's got speed. And I really think that the only reason he went undrafted is because the center position is undervalued. He's slightly undersized. And at the end of the day, he's not the flashiest guy, but he gets the job done. And I think that's exactly what they could ask out of a UDFA center. And I think it's going to be really fun to watch him on the interior this year as he battles with Eguakon for that backup center role in the preseason, and to see how they use some of these guys, whether they rotate them around, play some of them at guard. I think it's going to be really interesting to see this preseason. And I am definitely here for. But with all of that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below how you feel about the Duke Clemens signings. Do you think he's going to be a player that can make the roster, or do you think he's a player that might be on the chopping block after the signing of the Florida center? I'm very curious what you guys have to say about the prospect, what you say about the fit, and whether or not you think he can make the roster come the 2024 preseason. I'd be very excited to hear what you guys have to say. With all of that being said, that's all I got for you guys right now. Thank you all so very much for watching. Until next time, and until next draft season, of course, for this at least, go Lions.
Arnold.